Hey there, Lance with Pool Aid here, and today we're going to show you how to clean your cartridge filter. So stay tuned, we got a lot of information to share with you. Alright, so first what we want to do is we want to drain this filter of water. This equipment is below grade, it's below the water level of the pool, so we want to make sure that it's plugged up at the top. It already is. The valves are in the correct position, they're closed off, so now it's safe to drain the filter. We're going to go ahead and open the air release valve. There's a little bit of pressure that's built up in there. And whatever type of filter you have, you're going to have some kind of drain here at the bottom. So the drain plug on the filter is actually a little bit obstructed. So what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of opening up this drain plug on the filter, we're going to open the drain plug on the pump. And this will allow, as long as there isn't any kind of check valve between the pump and the filter, this will allow the water level inside the filter to lower. All right, so now while this is draining, we're going to go ahead and take this collar off of the filter. Okay. Let's set that aside. All right, now the collar is removed. So you don't want to take the top of the filter off until you're sure that the water has been drained. That can make quite a mess for you, and it'll just make it very, very difficult to actually remove the top of this filter because the suction will be there. So we're just going to let this drain for a minute. All right, so now that we're fairly sure that the water has been sufficiently drained from the filter, we're going to go ahead and remove the top and set it aside. All right, so this is, as you can see, a 4 cartridge filter. And we have the upper manifold here, bleeder screen. This allows any air that's trapped underneath the water to escape up into the top of the filter, so it won't actually impede the flow through the cartridges. You want to make sure at some point you're going to clean any sand and debris off of your O-ring here. But so now you want to remove the upper manifold, and that should just be able to pull right off. And now you can go ahead and remove your cartridge filters. Now ideally you do want to drain all this water that is in your filter, because you can see there's some dirt and debris still floating around in there, and that will instantly go right back into your filter cartridges once you turn the equipment back on. So something you definitely want to do before you put the effort and expense into cleaning these is just inspect them for any damage. Make sure that the rings at the top and bottom are still intact in one piece. Now, depending on the age and location that your swimming pool is, you may have just 1 cartridge inside your filter, or you can have up to 4, as this one does. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to clean these cartridges, and then we're going to show you how to put them back into the filter. So the first thing we want to do is give these cartridges a good pre-cleaning, because we have a chemical to clean them, but we don't want that chemical to be wasted on dirt that can easily just fall off by itself. So what I have here is the Melnor Impact nozzle. This is the best thing I've found so far for cleaning cartridge filters. You definitely don't want to use any kind of pressure washer that can damage the cartridge itself. But what's nice about this, as you can see, is it actually gives you a moving stream from side to side. You can do it, you can adjust it so it goes up and down or however you'd like. But this is a very durable spigot, and I've just come to love it for this. And the reason you want that oscillating side to side motion is because you're trying to get inside all of these little pleats. And the best way to do that is to change your angle horizontally. And this does that automatically. So you don't have to actually have to move your hand around much. All you have to do is just hold the nozzle firm and bring it up and down. Now remember, this is just a pre-wash, so we don't have to get super thorough here, but we're just going to give these cartridges a good rinse down. Alright, so this is the stuff that I use. Pool Season is the brand. You can use whatever brand, but it's a specific filter cleaner. If you have sensitive skin, I recommend you wear long pants, long sleeves, and gloves with this. Definitely some eye protection. This stuff is very acidic. It's meant to be that way because this breaks down all the oils and grease and things that are on our bodies when we get into the pool, as well as whatever we put on our bodies before we get into the pool, including sunscreen, any kind of lotions, as well as bug spray that comes off of us and just gets trapped in these filters. So this breaks that down so it can just be rinsed right out. Something else to keep in mind, as you can see where I am, there's no plants around me or landscaping. This is a nice area just with gravel and a brick wall. This stuff is very acidic, and even after you've diluted it by washing it out of the filter, that acidity can go into the ground and potentially kill some plants that you don't want to kill. So be careful also about where you clean your filter cartridges. You don't want to kill any landscaping that you intend to keep. And I have found that 1 quart will effectively clean 2 cartridges. So you typically need, if you have a 4 cartridge filter, 2 quarts. Now, obviously for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you how to clean 1 cartridge, and then you can go from there. But as you can see, we've already pre-washed 2 cartridges, so we're going to go ahead and spray this on. And so you just want to start at the top, let gravity do the work of bringing it down, and you can see how acidic it is by what happens when a little bit gets on the wall there. It just bubbles right up. Also, keep in mind where you started, and then you know where to stop, because you won't be able to tell just by looking at it. You don't want to leave this stuff on too long either. Just a few minutes is fine. And after you've done 2, if you have a little bit left over, feel free to go ahead and use up the rest of it. You can't use too much on these. All right, so now both of these cartridges have been sprayed down with the filter cleaner chemical, and we're gonna just start with the one on the right here and rinse it down just like we rinsed it the first time. All right, so unlike the initial rinsing, we want to make sure we get absolutely everything. So even if you've gone all the way around the cartridge, I recommend going over again and seeing if you see any dirt coming out of the cartridge, and make sure you focus on that specific area. So now we'll just compare. This is a pre-rinsed cartridge, this is a dirty cartridge, and this is a completely rinsed and cleaned cartridge. You can definitely tell the difference. It does a lot of good, folks. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of these cartridges, and then we'll show you how do we put them back in. All right, so now we've got the cartridges cleaned, and we're ready to put them back in the filter. But before we do so, we want to make sure we get all this debris out and make sure that this O-ring is clean. So we're just going to spray it down a little bit. And then we're going to make sure this O-ring is set correctly in place. If your O-ring seems to be too large, it may have gotten stretched out over time and you may need to replace it. All right, now we've cleaned our O-rings. Now we can put the cap back on our drain. All right, and so now that we've put the drain plug back on, we can start putting the cartridges back in. And you just want to make sure that these circles here go inside the filter there. There we are. And now, ever so importantly, we need to put the top manifold back in. If you don't put this back on, you're basically not allowing the filter cartridges to work, because then the water can come straight out into the filter body and go back into the pool without actually going through your filter. So this obviously very important. You want to make sure that your screen has been adequately cleaned before you put it back in. We've already done that. And so you just press it down gently and make sure that it goes over the pipe there. All right, and now we're going to put our top back on. You want to put it back on the same way that it came off, because over time the body of your filter can warp through the expansion and contraction due to the weather. So you may find that you wouldn't be able to put the top on like this because of whatever, because of the warping of the body of the filter. What may help is if you take a marker before you remove it and just draw a line along here. All right, and so you just want to look around to make sure that there is an even gap around here, and then we can put our collar back on. All right, make sure the collar is on all the way around. Now we can put our tightening bolt back on. Now you don't want to just tighten this down all the way and that's it. What I recommend is tighten this little by little. And if you have a small hammer or a rubber mallet, or I use this large wrench right here, once you've snugged up this nut like so, can leave that on there. Then I go around and tap, starting from the back. And you'll notice actually that this bolt has loosened. It's not as tight as it was before, because if you were just to tighten it all the way, all of that pressure would be applied here in the front and not in the back. So what you're doing by tapping it is making sure that that pressure is distributed evenly all around the body of this filter through the collar. Also notice I'm not banging away at this. I'm just gently tapping it. All right, you just want it to be snug. I want to emphasize something. You don't want these two sides to touch. Because if you've done that, then you've compressed that O-ring inside as far as it will go, and from that point it may not be able to bounce back the next time that you take this filter apart. So you don't want to compress it all the way. A good rule of thumb on this particular model is you want to have enough room to slide a credit card through. So we've gotten about there. So what we're going to do now is open up our valve to allow water back in. Remember, we've still got our bleeder valve open, so air is going to be able to come out. And this may not happen for you. You may have to turn on your pump in order to do this, but because this filter is so far below the water level of the pool, that equalization is just going to occur, so we can just open up this bleeder valve and the natural water pressure will fill up the filter. All right, so we're gonna turn on the pump so we can bleed it the rest of the way. And what you're gonna notice that I'm gonna do is I'm not going to bleed it so that water starts pouring out of here, because if it does, it may look like you have a leak when you don't actually, because the water will be streaming down maybe and hitting the collar and then dripping out of the collar in another location. It may look like you have a leak. So we wanna make sure that if we do have a leak, we're able to tell. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on the equipment now. So I hope you found all this information useful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you did find this helpful, please hit that subscribe button and the like button, and hit that bell notification, and you'll be notified next time we post a new video. It helps us tremendously. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Excuse you.